Greetings all, this is Dickie Adams with Pocketnow.com, and today we're going to take a closer look at the HTC Vivid from AT&T. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show. So the HTC Vivid does not really have much going for it as far as in-hand feel. It's a little awkward with these rounded beveled edges, that is, and this back plate here, the HTC logo where it's cut out, is actually fairly sharp against my skin. Not enough to cut you, but enough that after a few days of holding onto the device, the HTC logo starts to pick up a little bit of dirt and gunk in it that needs to be wiped out. It's also very hot down in this section here where these little dotted area is, and I found that with a little bit of just a minor amount of use, the device gets very, very warm in hand, which I didn't really care for. It's abnormally heavy compared to a lot of devices that are on the market today, especially compared to, say, the Samsung Galaxy S2 here, or in this case the Epic 4G Touch from Sprint. And while it doesn't look like it's much taller, it's just a smidge taller, in hand or just looking at the side of the device, it seems larger because of the beveled edges, and it gives the impression that the device is larger than it is. As far as the construction goes, it seems very solid, but the buttons on the sides do feel a little bit cheap in comparison to the rest of the solid construction of the device. Battery life is as expected. There's no major issues there. In fact, with very minor use over the holiday season, I found that it lasted quite a bit of time just sitting by itself without a whole lot of phone calls coming in, which is what I normally deal with. The 4G service didn't seem to cause any problems with the battery life either, or rather the lack therein. I imagine that once you have real 4G service, that the battery life diminishes greatly. Screen is bright and very nice looking, but the black edges here, especially compared to a Super AMOLED Plus screen, is a kind of a dark gray. You can kind of see that a little better here in the settings menu, but the color differences, with this being only 262K in colors according to the documentation, I haven't been able to find a whole lot of color differences between this device and the Epic 4G Touch. There is only 4 multi-touch points on this screen versus the 10 Plus that you can get on some devices, which was a little disappointing, but you know, for the type of device it is not terribly surprising. It does, contrary to our unboxing test, we got a little phone tester in here and found that it does contain all the gamut of the sensors, including a gyroscope, which we didn't think was included because it wasn't in the documentation originally. It's a very speedy device with this dual-core processor, but I found that it's constantly crashing, having problems. In fact, if you look up here in the corner, you can see that it's got a little cell tower issue here, and while I was setting up this device to review it, the phone actually crashed 3 times, which is not a good sign for it at all. Call volume is good out of this speaker here, but out of the speaker on the back, it's really tinny sounding and not very desirable to listen to. As far as like watching videos in any sort of loud environment, it gets really noisy, or rather everything else, the noise overpowers the speaker very quickly compared to other devices. The 8 megapixel rear facing camera is fairly decent. It does a good job of still photos, does an okay job on video, but again, this is something that is not really terribly surprising that it's going to be that great. Overall, I found that for what it is and for the type of device that it is, it just going to do a good job for the type of photos that you're going to want to take on the go, but it's not going to be anything spectacular. Again, same thing with the front facing camera here on the front end. There was one important item to mention down here on this small port here, this micro USB, not micro SD, as I mentioned in the unboxing. It can be used for HDMI out. Compared to other devices on the market today, specifically the Epic 4G Touch and the Droid 3 here, The HTC Vivid sits nicely between the two of them. It's smaller than the Droid 3, but a little larger than the Epic 4G Touch. But in the picking a device between these, I would certainly go with the Epic 4G Touch before I would go with this HTC Vivid based upon my experiences of how it feels in the hand. Even the Droid 3 feels better in hand, in my opinion. That wraps up our closer look at the hardware on the HTC Vivid from AT&T. If you have any comments or questions, would like to see something specific in the software portion of the tour, which is coming up, let us know in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Thanks for watching.